conversation with.
Yeah. Hello, we are in conversation with Cristina Oses. She is Spanish former winemaker and she's doing MA Arts and Cultural Enterprise in Central St. Martin's, which is part of University of the Arts London. She's doing her dissertation on sustainable jewelry and its awareness. So, Christina, will you like to tell us something about it, please?
Yes, of course. I'm always been interested in jewelry, although I've never been involved. And when I was thinking of the final master's thesis, I thought, well, this is my opportunity to learn more about the sector and also about sustainability, which is another subject that I'm always been interested in. So it's a combination of both.
Okay. So I have like few questions, so we can like I can just start asking you the questions. So for my first question is, what is sustainable jewelry and can it be eco-friendly?
Yeah. Okay, so to start with, the word sustainable is become trendy in the last few years, and that means that it's been used a lot for many things, but there is no clear definition on what sustainable entitles. There is one of the definitions that is still broader use, that means that something is sustainable when it's not putting in risk the resources for the future generations. Well, it's a way to approach it. To me, sustainable jewelry should take care of the 3 P's: the planet, the people, and the profit. The people is not only the mine sites, but jewelry has a long and complex supply chain that crosses countries and continents and involve many people, and all of them should work in health and under health and safety rules, having fair wages. Is not just only about avoiding child labor, which is pretty basic, or basic human rights. It's not only that. People should have a fair wages that allow them to have a decent life. There is many people who just work hand to mouth salaries, and in this way, but that is just not sustainable, because as soon as we face a situation that the one we are living now, these people get out of the system because they haven't managed to make savings. So this is the part of the people. The part of the planet, obviously, mining is a tricky bit for the environment anyway. But and also here the things start to become more complicated, because for instance, diamond mining usually, not always, but is in hands of big corporations that are able to make things in a better way, while some color gemstones mining are very artisan and a small mining, family owned, and that becomes more difficult. Also in the case of gold, there is, first of all, there is enough gold in the world nowadays to fulfill the demand, which that means that no one should be mining. There is no need to mine any more gold. But obviously people are out there that make a living out of mining gold, and they use quite often mercury to separate the gold of other components that come from the soil. And this is an environmental issue, huge environmental issue, and should be minimized as the maximum. And then the last P is the profit, because obviously it's a business, and a business is out there up and running to make a profit and to make a living. So this is what should be sustainable jewelry for me. And yes, of course, it has to be eco-friendly. It's just, yeah, it's one of the parts of it. Yep.
Okay, so then why should a piece of jewelry be ethical?
Well, jewelry is not a first need, right? It's not like food. Or when we buy a piece of jewelry, it's an item that is involving emotions, and it has a huge symbolic value. It's not only because the materials are valuable, that it is by fact, but there are also a lot of other soft things added to the value, and ethical should be another one. When you are buying an ethical piece of jewelry, you are doing the good. So it's just adding value somehow.
Yeah, makes sense. So, what does the term ethical mean when it comes to jewelry making and its purchase?
Well, with ethical is the same problem that with sustainable. We have the same problem. There is not a fixed definition. There is not a code of conduct of what makes something ethical or not. But it should be something the same that I have explained for sustainable jewelry, right? It's something that is taking care of the people and of the planet, and is still valuable and able to make a profit.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so then the consumers are increasingly aware of their buying choices, right? And they're leaning more towards sustainable and eco-friendly products. So what awareness and knowledge one should have before buying or investing in a piece of jewelry?
You're right. I mean, consumers' awareness is increasing, but here there is a gap between everyday commodities like coffee or tea or bananas, and which are low price, and people is gaining awareness. And then when we jump into luxury sector, there are other factors that come into a stage when we are making the decision, which is hedonism, is status, is also the feeling that one purchase is not going to make any difference, is also skepticism as how companies are doing their work, and of course lack of awareness. People is massively not aware of the sustainable options that they are available when buying jewelry. So the thing that consumers should be doing is asking questions, and I think we have a duty in every purchase we make, sorry, because we are putting our money, that is making an effort for us to gain that money, and then we spend it without asking. And we should be asking, how is this being made? Where is this coming from? And to me, this is the biggest power that consumers have, and we don't really use it, and it's a shame. We need to ask questions, and this is the way to move forward, and to ask, where is this being mined? Show me certificates. And this is, yeah, I think we might talk later about more about traceability, I believe, so we can.
Yeah, sure. So another question is, should we need to take an account for packaging materials as well, like, velvet, plastic, the jewelry that has been packed into?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, everything. And I know for the fact that here in London, some of independent jewelers that make sustainable jewelry, they also acknowledge how they are packaging their products, and also even how is transported to the clients when there are online when there is online purchase, to reduce the carbon footprint. And also even the lights on the shops, everything that makes an impact should be accounted in the whole equation.
Yeah, makes sense. So there is a massive gap between the miners, the makers, the suppliers, and the buyers. So as a consumer, how will one be able to track or get assurance if the purchase is sustainable and the ethical product?
Yeah, asking questions. Jewelry sector is far behind from other sectors in the traceability systems put it in place. For instance, in food, there is a food safety law, and every product, they need to have a batch code, and by law you need to be able to trace back that batch till wherever it's been grown. And this is in place for years ago. Jewelry industry is far behind of that. of course, the supply chain is more complex because a stone might be mined in Africa, then it's cut and polished in India, and then it's mounted in Europe and sold in US. So it's quite difficult to trace all backwards. But if consumers put pressure on the industry, then they will move forward because it's the only way. And this is what sustainable brands are doing. And some in diamond industry is more developed than in color gemstones, but still there is a lot to do. And to reduce that gap, if you can trace back all the steps, you might be able to share the final profit fairly. But if you don't know how many hands are in between, or where are those hands or anything, it's just no way to move backwards till the origin. So the way to reduce that gap is putting in place traceability systems, and the way consumers can help is asking for certificates.
Yeah, but like a lot of the times, like there is like a certificate fraud, or they just like just give it that this is something. It's a little bit
No,
here there.
no, not a homemade certificate. It needs to be issued by a third party body recognized. There is, for instance, the Responsible Jewellery Council, and there are quite a few brands, well-known brands, and not so well-known, smaller ones, that they are certificated by them. So this is a third-party body that audits them, audits the whole system they have in place, and buying from a jeweler which is under this code of conduct, you are ensuring that this piece is made properly. It doesn't make sense that I issue a certificate for myself saying how sustainable I am. No, it needs to be recognized by a body, and there are quite a few bodies out there. The biggest one is probably the RGC, but there are more.
Okay. So do you see any impact on the jewelry design?
In what sense? Sorry.
In what sense? As in like so if I am designing a jewelry, I'll keep in mind that let it be like just for recycled metal, or like not adding any diamonds, because I don't know what the track of diamonds will be, or it's just going to be a tedious process. So I will design something keeping that in mind. So is there like any kind of store in jewelry design making or something like that?
What I know is that the supply of sustainable source metals, either recycled gold or silver or fair mined or fair trade gold, is quite consistent. So jewelers don't have a supply issue, and probably the same with diamonds. However, in the color gemstones might be more limited. In the case of small independent jewelers, there are quite a bit one-of-a-kind pieces, so they design based on what they have. But it might happen that if they don't get the supply of sustainable source gemstones, they might not be able to do whatever. But then is there the commitment, and when a jeweler is committed with sustainable source raw materials, they are going to do their best, and they will adapt their production to what they have, to the supply they have, I believe.
Okay, so how about accessories of cheaper quality and price from middle and low end brands like Zara, Primark, etc.? And it's similar to like clothes ending up in landfills. So on the other hand, they are generally like expensive piece of jewelry is either an investment or have a traditional or personal value. So people buy it, preserve it, and it's basically like people owning a piece of Chanel, and like whether they know or they do not know, they're just gonna buy. Like they know it's an unethical product, but still they'll buy. So should we consider the brand reputation as a whole, or just the jewelry piece, or just the piece that is like ethical, but like the brand is not ethical, but just the piece is ethical, and then we should just like buy it? And the other question is, do you think that there is a need to break the system? Like, if yes, then how we should do that? What are the alternatives to the system?
Um, okay, let me not get lost.
Yeah, okay.
So in the super premium, when you talk about Chanel, we should also talk about super premium jewelry brands like
Yeah,
Bulgari or Tiffany's or whatever.
exactly. Yeah,
There is a part of the purchase that is people is buying status, people is buying the brand,
yeah,
and there is also a bit of trust. When you are buying from those brands, you are also hoping that they are doing things properly. And actually, there is quite a bit of work done towards sustainability in those brands, but they don't market it because it's not, they don't need to market that to sell their products because they are selling dreams.
yeah.
And sustainability for some reason has not the enough glamour on it. But for instance, Bulgari is using around 90% of recycled gold, and what is not recycled is sustainable source. But I just learned that listening a CSR webinar the other day online. I would never see that in a beautiful commercial printed in Vogue, because it's not a marketing tool for them. And people who is buying Bulgari is not buying sustainable gold, is buying Bulgari.
So do you think
So
that there should be awareness, like these brands should be responsible enough to promote the sustainability in this sense?
I think what it fails the communication somehow. I think the big brands and the small brands who are doing things sustainable, they should communicate it far more than what they do, because that would help. Those big brands are trendsetters.
Yeah,
They set the trends that then the big wagon, which is middle low price, follows. So if those big brands are not communicating, why the middle would? And so here we are. There is a lot of work um, in supply and in design and with sustainable source metals and stones, but the consumer have no clue. We don't know. I mean, I'm just learning on the way because I'm writing this piece, but no one of people doesn't know about the options that they already exist, and it's a failure of communication. And I think there is a bit of responsibility from those big brands and from the people who is doing it already, that they are not communicating, and every piece of jewelry is sustainable made that is sold and the buyer is not knowing is a lost opportunity for the sector, for the planet, for everyone. So yeah, so what was the other question? Sorry, I
yeah,
got
the
a bit
question
lost.
is like, so this is like a system, like whole system of like buying and investing a jewelry. Like in India, we generally, like people, most of the people generally invest in jewelry. Like it is like an investment piece, right? So they will not think about like sustainability, which is a very good thing to think about before buying stuff, but people will just buy. So there's like this whole vicious circle, or I would say like a system of getting into. So are there any other alternatives to it, or like should we break it in some way, or is there a way to do that, or is it a yes or no, or we should just like let it go and just keep on spreading awareness? So what can be the alternative to it?
Um, I think the communication is missed. I think, of course, jewelry is an investment, as you say, because it has a value by itself. If you buy a diamond ring, you have some gold or some platinum or whatever, and a diamond, which have a value by itself. And yes, it's an investment, but it's also a treat for some people. Some people just buy because they feel pretty wearing certain
Exactly.
jewelry. And and is these people the one that probably are not aware, and they should, and how to break that system with communication, just informing, and the customer asking. and I can't think of any other way, unfortunately, so far. But yes, with communication, if I'm doing something and I'm not telling anyone that I'm doing, and consumers, we don't want what we don't know. If we don't know that those options exist, we won't ask for them.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that brings to my next question, which is like, do you think sustainable jewelry is affordable? Because like, see, for example, if I'm buying, let's say I like wearing jewelry, I like wearing accessories. So like, if I do not have a budget, or like I would say I don't want to invest, but I just want to wear, so I would rather go and purchase something from Zara or Primark or whichever indigenous brands that I have, right? Which will again go up in the landfill. So again, it comes to like affordability, the budget, or also my intentions of buying a jewelry. So what do you think what we should do while we do that? How much responsible enough we should be? Like, so for example, if I want to buy something which is like affordable, then should I buy or should I not buy? And should I wait until I can have money to, like, until I have money to invest in a piece, which is a sustainable product? So do you think a sustainable jewelry is affordable, or it will be affordable in future?
um, Jewelry has a price, and I don't think that is gonna go down for any reason. I think, and again, with the pandemic, that we have locked in house for months and not buying, and we have had time to think about what are our real needs, and not only in jewelry, also in the brands you are mentioning about clothes. And I think my wish is that we will buy less but better. Less stuff in general, but from better quality that will last longer, and that is sustainable. That is the main thing of sustainability: make things last, and it won't end up after 3 months in landfill. And it's just, I mean, the planet cannot. There is no resources to keep doing that anymore. We need to stop now. And jewelry, well, maybe we don't really need to have a drawer full of little pieces from God knows what is made, between plasticky and the very best silver. Maybe we don't need that drawer full of crap that we don't look at anymore. Maybe we need to have few pieces, but properly made, from a jeweler that you trust, that is reliable, that is sustainable, and that means more for you. Because when you buy with intention, things get a bigger value. And when your intention is towards sustainability, you will treasure them. Doesn't matter if it's a woolly sweater that you will hand wash and make it last and take it care properly, or if it's a pair of earrings. It will mean something. You will remember that day when you bought it and why you bought it for. And so in the end, we need to break the system with our intention and where we are putting our money, asking and ensuring that what we are doing, it makes sense.
Yeah. So
This is
creating
my
like a,
wish.
I hope so to say, it's something like creating a demand in a responsible way. So not just like randomly creating demand for like smaller, like cheaply made products, brands that
Yeah.
make cheaply made products. Yeah. So okay, so like then comes to my last question, which is, are there any universal trademarks for ethical, sustainable jewelry? Like, which is universal in a way? Because in India we have ISI and those kind of things, but again, I do not have much knowledge about it, whether it tracks the sustainability or it is about like the ethical and the things that we discussed earlier. So yeah. So what are the universal trademarks?
This is another problem, because there is no one. There are plenty, and that doesn't help, because there are fair mind, fair trade, but one from gold, from silver, one from platinum. There are different trademarks for sustainable source, gold or gemstones. There is a myriad of things, and it's just confusing. It's just confusing. Diamonds, the very minimum will be the Kimberly process certificate diamonds. But again, this is a very minimum, because that ensures that with the money of those diamonds, you are not finding wars or conflict diamonds, which is very basic. So there is no only one, there are plenty. But again, it is putting intention and digging out a bit before buying a piece. Okay, this piece has some gold and some rubies and some pearls. Let's see, what are these coming from? Because maybe each one is going to have its own certificate, but they are internationally and they are well known. And again, you are not buying jewelers every day, so you can spend a bit of time digging and finding out and getting the right information before. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that these are all my questions. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this, Christina. Yeah,
Thank you for
it's
having
lovely to
me.
have you. Yes.